Welcome to Recipe to Success, the show where we sit down with key individuals in the hospitality industry to hear more about their journey to success. I'm your host, Humza Zahoor, CEO and founder of Social Awaken. I hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome to another episode of Recipe to Success. Today I'm joined by one of the co-owners of the Great Chase restaurant, and I'm really excited to get this episode underway because I think it'll be one full of value. I'm actually feeling a bit under the weather today, so I will apologize if my voice is a little bit croaky, but I'll do my best. I couldn't cancel this one or reschedule this one because it is definitely going to be one that you guys will enjoy. So why don't you start off by introducing yourself for everyone to know who you are, what your business is and all that kind of stuff.
Great, thank you. My name's Mabruk. I'm one of the co-owners of the Great Chase in Islington, St. John Street. I opened it about 2 years ago with my business partner Simon, and I'm now here with the podcast, and Humza kindly invited me to come down, and now I'm here.
Amazing. So for all of those people that don't know, what is the Great Chase? What is it all about?
So the Great Chase is essentially a sort of fully halal, alcohol-free, sort of fine eating / casual restaurant. So we wanted to bring the sort of fine dining element into the halal industry. But we don't want to go too far into sort of going too far away into pretentiousness. So we wanted to make it a bit of a relaxed environment where people can enjoy that sort of quality of food that you'd expect in sort of the high-end fine dining restaurants, but get it in a more slightly relaxed, casual environment, but without any compromise on your sort of halal dietary requirements.
Mm-hmm. And what do some of the menu look like for people that don't know?
I think when we first started, we didn't have any burgers and steaks. We've sort of introduced that because it was more of a safeguarding. Because obviously in the halal industry, what we do is quite niche,
mm-hmm.
And obviously for some people it might be a little bit too adventurous. It might be something that they're not familiar with, and for that we have a couple of burgers, and we have 2 cuts of steaks. Just for that. But the main thing of what we do is we work with British produce as much as we can. We work with ethically sourced products, so sort of free-range meats from farms in Britain. We use a lot of our veg, which is seasonal, from the UK as much as we can. And it is a seasonal menu, so we do change it throughout the year. So we want to work with the freshest and the best produce that's available at that time. And it's mainly sort of, I'd say it's modern European, so it's sort of British with quite a lot of French flair, especially as the chef is French.
Great,
as well, so.
Great. So it's an interesting one because it's quite a unique concept.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the reasons why obviously I'm quite a supporter of the brand, is because it's not something that you see every day, mm-hmm. and I think the way it's been executed quite well. But how did the idea come about? Because it's not something that is, because when there's a trend of popular businesses like burger places or steak places, then you start seeing all of these kind of places pop up. But this is a little bit of the opposite. It's something completely different, with also the twist of it being halal, because that's a big part as well. So how did the idea come about?
It came about, I'd say, well, we've been open now 2 years. It's probably 3 years in the making. So 5 years ago, I'd say, probably sort of had that sort of light bulb. I wouldn't say it's a light bulb in terms of I had a genius idea. It was far from it. It was just more, what would I have liked to have seen in the industry? I think it started from my own personal need, thinking, well, if I wanted to go out tonight, but I wanted something a little bit different, where can I go? So it's nothing about being the best restaurant ever. It's just making sure that we had another option. Because as someone with halal dietary requirement, your options are quite limited. Because it's not like you can go out anywhere in London to enjoy food, and there are predominant regions in London that have a lot of halal options, but then there's other parts of London that don't have it at all.
Especially fine dining, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So it really clicked because in my day job, I take my clients out for lunches and dinners, and obviously they're a particular kind of clients, so obviously I have to take them to sort of high-end restaurants. But when we're at the high-end restaurants, they're enjoying their time. They're ordering whatever they want in their menu, they're having any drinks, they're pairing their drinks, and I'm sitting there sort of saying, what's your vegetarian options? And it's not predominantly what I'd go for, but it's what I was looking at. And then even then it gets a bit complicated, because then you think, oh, I might look at seafood, but then you're like, oh, but I don't want you to cook it with white wine. And there's that sort of complication, right? Whereas they have the free run at the menu. And then it wasn't just that, it was the service as well. The service in these kind of restaurants, it wasn't a transaction. It wasn't someone just taking your order, sending it to the kitchen, and then just giving you your plate. They understood their menu. They were hosts. And I think the bit that really impressed me was when they actually came over to my client with a wine list. And they did this whole presentation of the wine list and how to pair a particular wine with a dish that they've just chosen, and explain to them how that works. But bearing in mind, the whole time they were presenting that to my client, their back was towards me, because obviously I can't enjoy something like that. So I thought to myself, isn't there a way of creating that experience for people that require it to be, well, fully halal, so without the alcohol, completely halal menu. And I thought, being in London, especially somewhere where we think tends to be quite more forward-thinking as a city, massive Muslim population, the culinary scene in London is world famous. So I always thought to myself, now that the Muslims, for example, are climbing the social ladder, especially in their jobs, in their education, I was wondering if in the food, will we do the same? Because like how these clients get to enjoy these kind of restaurants, we will get to enjoy these kind of restaurants. Then I just thought about it, wouldn't it be great if we had a restaurant like that? And then I actually spoke to a work colleague of mine about it. And then he said he had a friend that was interested in doing a restaurant, but he never believed in any concept, and he never really had anyone to do it with. So he introduced me to his friend, so I went out to dinner with his friend, and then I sort of pitched him the idea. And then within about 10 minutes he stopped me and just said, you know what, I'm sold, I'll do it with you. And then I said, well, I spent all night trying to create this pitch, so I'm just going to carry on and get to the end of it. So he really believed in it, because he thought because he's a British guy, he's a northerner from Yorkshire, and he thought that in Britain there should be a place to dine out for everyone. No one should be restricted by anything when it comes to dining out, and that's why he wanted to do it with me. And then we worked on the details over 3 years in terms of what we wanted the concept to be, what sort of produce we wanted to use, what kind of chefs we wanted in place, how we wanted to do the drinks, and how we wanted to create something a little bit different, because we already have so much of other things. We don't need to create even more of the same. We said, let's just try something a little bit different. That's a bit of a risk, especially because it's not something that's the norm in the industry, or in the halal industry anyway. And then we thought we'd go with it.
So that was the the genius idea at that point.
Yeah.
And then you got a bit of support, which is great.
Yeah.
So he's English, not.
No, yeah. He's
English.
Yeah,
okay, great. So I think that's really interesting, because what a lot of people don't realize is that just because it's a halal restaurant, don't assume that the owners are Muslim.
Yeah.
Sometimes people choose to be halal for a reason, whether it's for the consumers, whether they actually believe in the way that halal produce is made, or kind of cut up and all that kind of stuff. So. That's one thing, but then obviously you've got the idea. I'm guessing both of you don't have any experience in hospitality.
No, I mean, my business partner, he did have a role as a chef in Notting Hill for a little while, but in terms of running a business, neither of had anything. We're complete novices.
So then, so you've got the idea. Where do you go from there then?
Research.
Yeah.
Lots of research on our part. We tried to talk to other business owners, but it wasn't easy at the time to get through to other business owners. First of all, we didn't know many, and secondly, we didn't know how to reach out to them either. So the way we started is a way I would never tell anyone else to start. It was a lot of guesswork, just from the research we did, and sometimes a little bit of a punt, some well-calculated punts.
Trial and error.
And we just sort of went with it. You create this forecast, which is all great, but a forecast is never true. You don't know you're going to end up there, right? So I try to implement as much as I can in trying to get to this end result, or even at least just get to opening. But while doing one thing, you realise there's something else you need to do. So I didn't know everything. I just knew as I was going along. So it's like, oh, I've done this. Oh, wait. Oh, there's this cost for this now. Oh, I didn't factor that in. And then we just had to, it was like a snowball effect, just constantly just things piling up. And what would have really helped at that time is if I was able to have like a mentor or someone that was able to guide me a little bit on how to open a business or how to open a restaurant, because that time was actually very tough because I was blind to a lot of things. I think now, if I was to do it again, I could probably do it a lot quicker and possibly a lot better as well, because now I know from all the errors I made. It's not even about because I was good at what I did. It wasn't anything to do, because I couldn't have been good at something I never did before. But I'd be better at it now because I know to avoid all the mistakes that I made.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things about business is that as you go along, you learn so much, and then you tell yourself that, you know, I can't make these same mistakes again because I've learned from them. And that's one of the big things, you know, that was one of the reasons why we wanted to start the podcast, because there are a lot of people that are young now that maybe in 5 years' time, or maybe even a year's time, or even maybe now they're thinking about it, that they want to jump into hospitality. I think it's such an exciting industry at the moment, whereas before kind of people didn't really know where to even get started. And yes, you know, some things you can't be told, some things you have to go through it yourself and experience it yourself. But at the same time, to have mentors or to have platforms where you can learn, I think it's really beneficial. So at that point, you're going through the whole snowball effect before you've opened, I'm guessing. So you've gone through the whole thing of this. I've got this expense. Okay, I need to do this now. Then eventually, I'm guessing it led up to the point where you were like, okay, I'm happy with everything now. Then did you then decide the opening date, or was it just more of a spontaneous thing?
So no, we went through absolute hell with the opening. It was actually supposed to be open 8 months before it had actually opened.
Wow, okay.
We went through some sort of legal, in terms of buying the premise or getting the commercial lease for the premise, took a very long time, which was a very frustrating period. Process, because the current landlord was not sure about giving us the place, because we've never owned a place before. We don't have any credit because obviously it's a new business. Also, we were young. You know, at the time we were talking about it, we were just under 30 years old, both of us. So he wasn't sure about taking that risk on us. And then the current people in the premise were trying to sell it to us, so they were getting frustrated because the landlord wasn't sure about letting us take the place. And then we got the solicitors involved, and then there's just this prolonged period of trying to get the space, or trying to get the commercial lease. And then what happened was we didn't get to open the way we wanted to, because we wanted to have a whole month where we can, or even 2 months even, to try and get things into place, to renovate, to get the place open. And what happened was the current holders of the premise got very frustrated because of how long it was taking, and they just wanted to sell the place and move on. And then when we finally got the solicitors to get everything put into place, they said we had to pay there and then to buy the place, and we've already given our deposit.
Wow.
So we've done that. We've got the place, which meant we had the place from tomorrow, which meant the rent kicks in. So we just had to spend 2 weeks. We just rushed 2 weeks of trying to get the place ready to then just open, because as a startup business with our own cash,
you need revenue coming in.
We needed money to start coming back in straight away. We couldn't afford to be closed for 2 months to try and do renovations. That would have just killed us. And then it got delayed. And I still remember, it's one of those things I still always remember, and I keep talking to my business partner about, is, do you remember the night before we had to open? And he always shakes his head and goes, I never want to go through that again. Because we announced the day of opening, and it was 3 a.m. in the morning the same day, and we were still in there trying to get it ready. And then we sat down and we both just said, you know what, should we just call it? And just call off the opening. When we're ready for it, we'll do it. Because everything was just going wrong. Because it's a grade 2 listed building, really old. We had our survey done. I guess surveys didn't pick up everything. And again, it's that thing of that naivety of being a first-time business owner, that I didn't notice certain things. Some very simple things that you assume out of common sense you would just check, and we didn't. And those things started falling apart the day before we were opening. So there's just this manic moment, and then we just kind of went with it. We opened, we said, you know what, there's nothing else we can do. We haven't really got much of a choice. Let's just see how we can make it work. And then we did, and we went with it.
So that was a massive test in the whole opening phase. So now you've opened. How is that feeling? Because now you've spent a lot of money. You've gone through a lot of trials and tribulations in terms of the building or the business, or multiple things. I'm sure you've invested quite a bit as well. What was the response like as soon as you opened?
Very quiet. Again, it's that thing is I didn't really know how to market the restaurant. Again, I was naive enough to think that I can make it work with just Instagram, and it doesn't work that way. Especially when you've got a following of 20 people that are your own family, right? So getting the word out there was quite tough. So then I learned to start inviting bloggers in. But then we weren't sure about getting bloggers in because we were like, let's get through the first few weeks because we don't want to.
Yeah, the service.
We don't want them turning up and then we mess everything up because we don't know how to do it. The beginning was very tough. I mean, it took several months of losses, quiet days. We had some evenings where we had a table of 2 the whole day.
Wow.
And then, I'm not even sure if there might have been one day where we didn't have anyone, but I don't think so. No, I think the worst we've had was just one table of 2 that we had that one time, and we were just never able to make it work. It took a long time, so then we pushed a bit harder in getting our word out there, getting our social media feed set up better, concentrating it more, getting more feeds out, and then obviously, again, it's like a snowball effect. It's the people that were coming were enjoying themselves, and then because we were new, they wanted to introduce someone else to the place, so they'd come back again and bring new people, and then over time we started to get larger regular customers, and they were bringing newer people. The newer people hearing about us. Obviously, bloggers really helped. I know everyone has their stigma around bloggers, but I guess to get those bums on seats initially, they were a massive help.
Yeah.
And then they put out the word, and they really enjoyed it, and then it came out, and then it started coming through, and and that's how we got to where we are today. But we always kept trying to improve. We kept adding better people to our team. We kept coming up with newer ideas, getting more creative, getting a little bit more finer, and also we tried to get our story out there and get some education out there as well on what we're trying to do, especially with the drink side, because we do make real cocktails. We don't make any mocktails in the essential sense of pina coladas or mojitos. We make actual real cocktails with actual real sort of products, so like actual alcohol-free spirits, with actual cordials, which we get specifically made for us, which are hand-picked in England, hand-pressed, preserved in natural sugars, and some of these flavours are created just for us, and they get sent over to us as well. And then I have an actual sommelier who we took from the Young's company, and he's an alchemist as well, so he's the one that spins all the drinks for us, and all our drinks are specific only to us because we made them.
Wow.
They're all our recipes, or essentially his recipes, and it kind of gives us a little bit of a stamp of being a little bit different in that sense. I think it was also getting past the idea of people's expectations of us. There's several expectations of us. One is when we say we're sort of fine eating, people expect to come to a restaurant with, a lot of grandeur, like really grand. They probably expect to see chandeliers and butler service. We have incredible service, very friendly, but we're a little bit more relaxed. So there's that expectation when we say, because that's a problem when you say fine dining. You're expecting something like the Dorchester or the Ritz,
Yeah.
and we're not that. Well, maybe one day we can be, inshallah, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But we aren't that at the moment in terms of our look. And then the other expectation is obviously when halal has quite a bit of a stigma around it, of a particular type of food, because for so long halal had just been a fried chicken shop.
Yeah.
And then from there it evolved into something else, and then we just kept evolving and finding newer options, and different cuisines from different parts of the world, which is great, and that's why we now have a space to be where we are. So it's managing that expectation, because some people are coming and there's issues with, which is understandable sometimes, it's the portion size, but obviously we're trying to be fine eating, so you have to work your way through the whole course. If you're going to come in and just have a starter, for example, for the whole evening, then it will be quite small. Or if you're going to come and have just one main dish the whole evening, then it will be quite small. We're trying to encourage people to try a dining experience. We tell people it's not really somewhere to just eat, it's somewhere to experience. So it's working your way through the whole course. Let us talk you through it. Let us pair the drinks with it. Let us get you some cocktails to begin with, to just get the whole experience. And it took a while to get people to come around to that. Some people came to it and were super excited because like myself, I'm not the only person that was looking for something like this. There are a plethora of people out there that are looking for places like this to dine in. So these guys come and they love it. Other people, it's the first time, they enjoy it, and other people, it's just not for them. But that's just the nature of the game. You're not going to be the cup of tea for everyone. So all of that took a little while, and then it takes time to build a reputation. You can just never make it straight away, especially when we were a nobody. We opened as the Great Chase. No one had a clue who we were, and people didn't even know we were a restaurant, because the Great Chase doesn't sound like a restaurant. So every time even in my family, when I told them, oh, I'm named at the Great Chase, they just laughed and went, what the hell is that? And I was like, why? They're like, well, how am I supposed to know that's a restaurant?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it doesn't necessarily have to have the name of a cooking equipment or an ingredient in the name for it to be a restaurant. So even in that, it's such a simple thing, but even there's an expectation of the name of a restaurant. So there's a lot of challenges, because we're trying to introduce something so new to the industry. There was all those challenges, and it took a while. I mean, like I said, we're not successful yet, but we're starting to get a little bit more steady, and we're trying to build our brand a little bit as well, and see where it takes us.
I think it's really inspiring to hear that kind of story, because a lot of people do assume that things happen overnight, and people just like to think that, oh, I'm going to open a business and the next day I'm going to be making £1 million.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't work like that. That's the reality. But you talked about there were days where you had literally a table of two the whole day.
Yeah.
What made you persevere through those times and get through to the other end? And respectfully, I understand that you're saying that you're not successful, but for most people, they may assume that you're doing quite well, and I'm sure you are. I think probably modestly, in terms of your numbers, in terms of your forecast, you're probably saying, I haven't achieved success yet, and that's nice of you to kind of be so humble about that. But it has come a long way from where it was, and I think it's not only about, because success is very subjective, right? Yes. Success for you might be different to someone else, and some people may look up to you and think, you know what, you are doing a great job. So what made you persevere to get to the point where you are now and continue and get through it?
I mean, we were under no illusion that it was going to take time. That's the thing. Especially in a restaurant business, it's very glamorous and exciting, but it's also probably the toughest industry to be in. But no, I guess it's not going to be one. I guess my answer is not going to be one of those sort of dreamy answers, and like one of those things that become like an influential answer. It's really, we persevered because we put so much money in it. We had to make it work. There was no ifs and buts about it. We just were like, look, it's not working right now. What do we do? How do we get more bums on seats? It wasn't this sort of like a training montage of saying, I'm gonna just we're gonna work hard, we'll make it work. It was really just, we've put so much money into it, we've put so much hard work into it, so much of our time. I took a year out of my day job, so obviously I wasn't earning any money to make it work. Me and my business partner weren't taking any money from the business either, to just try and make it. We're like, we've put so much into it, let's just give it a little bit more time and see where it goes. Because we're like, the general consensus they say is a restaurant doesn't start making money until its third year.
Wow.
Right? So if you put that into it, then if you were to give up because you didn't make money in your second month of opening a restaurant, you should have never opened it in the first place. If that is your expectation, unless you're a franchise, like you've already got 5 other restaurants and you're opening another one that people can't wait for you to open in their location or in their city, that's different. But when you're a brand new startup that no one knows anything about you, you haven't got a famous chef, you haven't got any of that, don't open a restaurant if you think you're going to make money in the first 2 months or first 3 months or even in the first year. Because if that's your expectation, you're going to get hugely disheartened. And if we didn't have that thought behind us already, we would have closed up straight away in the first year because we weren't making any money. But we knew we wouldn't be. We knew it was going to be a challenge. And we knew that, at least in the first few months, we are really not even going to be able to fill half of our restaurant on any night, even if it was the weekend. I still remember the first time we hit a landmark on a weekend, because it took us, now as a restaurant it's quite bad, so if you imagine on a Saturday we couldn't even make a grand and we opened lunch and dinner, right?
Oh, yeah. And
I remember on the third month maybe we made our first grand in one day, and it was like this massive celebration in the restaurant. We were just high-fiving everyone. But even that grand wasn't even anything. It didn't actually put us into profit, but it was just trying to hit that because at least then we knew there's a bit of progression. Because mentally, to keep going, you need to see some kind of progression. It might not be that you're making profit, but you know that as long as the progression is there, then in your timeline or in your forecast, if you're on an upward curve, then you know you're going to eventually, as long as you keep on with the right intentions and keep putting in the hard work, then you might reach where you want to reach, but you have to see that upward curve. Because if it's just plateauing or going down over 2 years, then it's probably not working. But alhamdulillah, we got to see the upward curve, even if it wasn't where we wanted to be. But as long as the direction was going upwards, then at least we knew things are starting to work, and that's what gave us a bit more hope and allowed us to continue. And I think the thing that really helped us continue was the positive feedback we got from people was amazing. And one thing about a restaurant is it can be very self-gratifying as well, because when you hear what people say about your restaurant and how much they wanted a restaurant like this, or how much they enjoyed themselves, and all these different things, you feel good. And there's always that feel good factor. And I think it's like any job, regardless of whether it's a business. It's like if you're a salesperson, you're motivated by good results, and then you can work harder. It doesn't matter how hard the job gets, but if your results are coming in, you feel better about it and you can go into work. But if your results weren't coming in and you're still working really hard, at some point you're going to get disheartened and it's going to affect your job. And I think it's the exact same in business. So to get that positive feedback, to get that support from people, seeing the reviews come through, or just seeing what people say to us when they're in the restaurant, you think to yourself, if I made them that happy in that evening, I'd love to make 10 more people tonight feel that good as well. And it just keeps you going. And that's how it works. Well, that's how it's been working for us.
Amazing. So at this point now, obviously the restaurant started to blossom, and we've talked a little bit about the hardships along the way, and the journey getting to where you are now. When did you start getting recognized a little bit more? Because now you're an award-winning restaurant. People have paid attention, the likes of Time Out, etc. So they have actually recognized you. So I'm sure that must have been quite a good feeling. But
yeah,
how long ago did that come about?
In honesty, I'd say actual recognition, or people starting to get to know us. I mean, bear in mind, there's still a whole lot of people that still don't know The Great Chase or that it exists. But just after a year, I think, of opening. So we opened in July 2017. I'd say, yeah, literally a whole year later is when we probably started to see a bit more people coming through, started seeing people taking a bit more notice of us. I think what helped is not just Muslim diners we get. We've got a lot of non-Muslim diners as well, because, like I said, because we're not doing mocktails, essentially, we're doing actual alcohol-free cocktails. There's a lot of non-Muslims that are not... There's a lot of people that are sober for a reason. It can be any personal reason. It can be a choice, or whether it's for health or whatever. But I guess they were also struggling to find grown-up drinks for themselves that wasn't full of sugary syrup or lemonade or something like that. So they wanted something, but they were struggling, because obviously when they're going out with their friends who drink, it's a bit of a struggle. And then obviously they started hearing about our bar, and then they started coming in, and then we started actually picking up a lot of these sober crowds. And then obviously when they were trying our drink, they were specifically coming for our drinks only. But then they thought they'd try our food as well, and then they realised, the food's really good as well. And then we started getting into newspapers. So like the Londonist then did an article on us, also about how we're trying to be ethical. We try to be as ethical as we can be, but there's a lot of challenges. And I think the only thing that worries me is when we say we're ethical, we'll probably end up under a lot of scrutiny, because everyone will pick at everything. But it's impossible to have every single detail done. So we say, let's just make a start where we can be. Let's be as ethical as we can be. And then that story started going out, and people started, they really respected that story. A lot of people related to that story. So when the newspaper picked it up, then bloggers started hearing about us, other bloggers started coming in, and ones that we hadn't invited, they were just coming in their own accord. And then obviously Time Out, the Love Awards happened. We got those awards in. Foodism Awards. So Foodism Award is a restaurant award for London that's based around ethical restaurants mainly, and sort of what they're doing for the community, what they're doing to be ethical. And then they nominated us 2 years in a row under Best Fine Dining Restaurant in London. And what made me quite proud about that is that wasn't a niche award in terms of just halal restaurants or anything like that. It was amongst everyone in London. So to be able to become a nominee in the top 10 of best fine dining restaurant in London and be alcohol free as well at the same time was something for me to be or for the whole team actually, to be very proud of. And I think all of that just started coming out, and then our words started getting out there. We started popping up in a lot of people's social feeds, because the busier you get, the more people you have in your restaurant, everyone's snapping away. There's a higher concentration of not just you putting on Instagram, but other people putting on Instagram, so their followers and their friends and family are seeing it. And then we had this period where people couldn't really avoid us on Instagram for a while, and I think that really helped. And Instagram is the biggest driver for us. So our Google rankings went up, and all those sort of things. So yeah, it took a incredible amount of graft in the first year to try and get that sort of recognition, and it still takes the same amount of graft to even just continue on the same level, let alone trying to push ourselves up even further. And that's when we started seeing the change. And then we started adapting a little bit. We said, all right, look, we're starting getting more people. What did people really enjoy? Let's keep that. Probably what didn't work, let's adapt it a little bit. And we just started getting better at streamlining our business to make it work better for our audience. And that's where we are today.
Yeah, because as you go along, you start finding out what people like and what people don't like.
Because we had a lot of waste to begin with, huge amounts of waste, because we were making so many. I wouldn't say wrong choices. It's just, I guess, we had to experience our audience for a little while to really understand them. Because one prime example was we had a cheese board on our menu, and we spent a lot of money on these expensive cheeses, and we sold only one. So I had to just give all the cheese away to all the staff. So it's like just trying to tweak little things. It's like trying not to go too crazy with our ideas, trying to still be a little bit sensible, but still at least be a different option at the same time.
Yeah, but I think a lot of that comes with hindsight as well. Yeah. So you don't really realize until you go through it. But
exactly.
Yeah, but so that's, I mean, amazing. But what would you say that was your most fulfilling moment, was when you started getting awards, or did you have more of a moment where you were like, that is something I can't forget?
I think there's a dangerous thing with restaurants is you can get really bogged down in winning awards, but you can win awards without your business doing well.
Very true.
Right, and we won awards when we weren't making any money. And as a business, you want to be making money, because there's no point. You're not going to spend all this money into a business just to win awards and then lose your business because you didn't make any money, right? And to be honest, we were winning those awards and we were still not making money, because you win those awards for the food that you do, the service that you provide, the drink. You don't win awards for being the business that makes the most money. You don't win an award for being the business that's the busiest. So it's very self-gratifying to win those awards, and I think what it helps to do is makes you push. Because like, if I've won these awards, then this should help me push more forward, or push. Because
you realise you're onto something, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So you kind of those awards have kind of made us feel like, you know what, our idea does work. We came up with this idea when we were disheartened and thought it might not work. These awards came in, and it just sort of rejuvenated us a little bit, because it made us think, well, you know what, if these guys are going to give us awards, that means they see something good in us. All we need to do is now get that out there and see if people will take a chance in dining with us. And I think it was more of a mental thing rather than an actual anything physically that happened. It was more just, it made us believe more in our idea, because it almost certified the idea, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think also like it eventually does allow consumers to have more trust in you as well.
Yeah.
But it's a slow burner. It's not something that automatically overnight people will be like, oh, I need to try this place now because they've got an award. Yeah, it does make a difference, I think, to numbers, but over time. Yeah. And people then start appreciating it. But so that's when you started winning awards. And so things started to pick up slowly. Obviously, you did mention that you still were struggling to a certain degree, even when you were winning awards. But then, when did it get to the point where you were like, you know what, not only are we now surviving, we're actually heading into growth, and there is a solid reason to continue to do this, other than just not really pride, but the fact that, you know, you've put a lot of money in it. Because sometimes what a lot of business owners don't know how to do is tell themselves that, okay, enough's enough. They keep going, and then they get to the point where they're just beyond bankrupt, because they could have said, let's give up a long time ago. But it's a very hard thing to do, especially not just in terms of yourself, in terms of your own mindset and saying, oh, I need to give this up, even though I've put in all this money and all this work. But I think also sometimes people do care what other people think as well. Even if we don't tell ourselves that, we do. We don't want people to look at us and think, oh, you're a failure, or, you know, that didn't work out. It's a difficult thing, especially in some specific communities. It can be quite difficult, but you managed to get through it.
Mm-hmm.
So what was that experience like? Obviously, when you went through it, you were like, okay, we're starting to see a little bit of growth. There is a reason for us to continue. Was there a defining moment for that, or was it just you were starting to see more progress over time?
It was, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say there was a day or a moment that made that happen. I think it was a period of time. It was looking back at the last 3 months or the last quarter, and to see how we performed over the last quarter, because that gives us a good indicator of consistency, or if we're consistently doing well. Because you can have a cracking week, but then you can have 8 really bad weeks. That's, you know, your business can't survive like that. So really, it was more just, you know, I always check we always review what we're doing, and then it was just the first time ever we had a quarter which was super consistent and really doing it. And I think that's when me and my business partner looked at each other and said, you know what, I think we're kind of there now, in terms of we're at a level where we can now survive. And then when we had that, and that was not too long ago even, that was towards the end of last year, I'd say. And then we're like, look, we're kind of there. Actually, you know what? Funny enough, it was Ramadan.
Wow.
It was actually Ramadan, actually, yeah. Because we've never actually had a consistent. So you know how, like, really popular restaurants have this thing where, oh, if you try to get a booking, you can't. You can try and get a booking in 2 weeks' time. You can get it 3 weeks' time. So we never had that. And then it was our first ever Ramadan that we were doing at the restaurant, and we were super nervous because we're like, before Ramadan, we're okay, but we're not actually busy. So then we're like, well, now we're going to lose predominantly majority of our audience because everyone's going to be fasting. And then I was like, it's our first time doing Ramadan, first time trying to pull out an iftar menu. Are even people going to even see it, to even care, to want to come and join us? We're in a very awkward location as well. We're not really near any masjids. For people who want to go to Tarawih and things like that. And I'm like, so we spent a good 3 weeks just brainstorming how we're going to do Ramadan. But we wanted to make sure that the essence of Ramadan was the most important thing, and not so much about just providing people with food, because obviously that's not the most important part of Ramadan. Yeah. And then somehow, alhamdulillah, that 1 month in Ramadan, we were fully booked the whole month, quite in advance. Actually, no, the first week was tough because obviously
people don't really go out.
Out. And then the following few months, it was just unbelievable. Alhamdulillah. It was the best month we've ever had, and we were even closed during the days. We literally almost only opened for iftar, so we opened for less hours than we normally would be.
This was Ramadan 2018.
This is Ramadan 2018,
okay.
Yeah. So we opened for less hours, and it was an unbelievable month. It was an amazing month. People really believed in our iftar. People, you know, just booked out the whole month. We turned away more customers in that month than we've probably taken in 3 months. And I think that is the moment that really changed things for us, because that was a massive concentration of people that were trying to get in contact with us, that were dining with us for a whole month. And then all those people were then like, well, look, we need to come and try them after Ramadan now. So then straight after Ramadan, we started seeing this real pickup of people coming through to try us, see us, because obviously they didn't get through to us. So yeah, that was probably, for the business, that was a very defining moment for us, definitely.
What do you think changed in that time, other than obviously the own reasons that we will say, you know, the blessings and stuff like that? But was there something dramatic that changed, or was it just you couldn't tell yourself why?
I think it's a combination of a few things. It was definitely a different iftar. It's not the normal iftars that you eat out. So everyone has their favourites of where they go out to eat iftar, and you know, the halal restaurants that cater to iftars. Our one was quite different because we were providing food that wasn't the norm, especially not to break your fast with anyway. Yeah. Especially in our communities. So it's something a little bit different. But we also structured it in a very strict manner, where we took all the pre-orders, the guests arrived, they had everything on their tables, but we'd explained the whole evening to everyone that attended. So we managed everyone's timings while we were there. We took a break for 15 minutes for Maghrib Salah, made sure no one, we took no orders during that time. We played the adhan through the restaurant. We didn't play any music during the time. And then we also prayed our Maghrib Salah together in Jamaat. So we used to collect all the diners together for us to go and pray together as well. And things like that. And I think that really fed into people's experiences of what Ramadan should be like. And as a restaurant, we were able to pull that off, and you know, it's something I'm very proud of. Alhamdulillah, I'm glad I was able to give me those resources and the time, and to allow me to have those diners to come in and create that sort of experience for everyone. So that was really nice, and I think when people experience that, they really enjoyed themselves. You know, it's a blessed month as well. And I remember I told all my staff who are non-Muslim at the time, and I said to them, the best month you're ever going to have in this restaurant is going to be Ramadan. And then they said, why? I said, because every diner will have to be on their best behaviour because they don't want to nullify their fast. And then as we were coming to the end of Ramadan, all my non-Muslim staff came to me and they said to me, oh, Mabruk, does Ramadan really have to end? Can it not just be for the whole year? I was like, if only. So that was actually, I'd say that's probably one of the defining moments for us, definitely.
You must have been challenging for you though, obviously fasting and operating the business. I remember like this year was probably the first time where I was proper, you know, diving into my business and fasting and all that kind of stuff, and I found it challenging. I'm not gonna lie. It was hard. I think at the beginning it was difficult because, you know, your body's getting used to it, and then obviously over time it does become easier. But running a business and fasting isn't the easiest thing. So how did you challenge? How did you deal with that? And not just in Ramadan, but how do you deal with some of the things that come along with owning a business? You know, you're lucky enough to have a partner. Obviously, yeah. I'm sure he shares some of that as well. But is there certain practices that you follow? Is there certain beliefs that you have that keep you going, or is it just that you every day you just take it as a new challenge?
As in specifically during Ramadan, or
I mean specifically Ramadan, but also generally as well.
I mean, during Ramadan, it wasn't too hard for me, if I'm being honest, in terms of, I mean, it was actually, but not for what you'd think it would be for. Yeah. Fasting for me is probably the easiest part of Ramadan. I mean, I'm not saying it because I'm trying to make it sound like, it's easy. It's not. But for me, fasting is the easiest part because everyone's fasting. It makes it a lot easier for you to fast as well. I think the hard part is keeping up with everything else in Ramadan. So your prayers, your tarawih, your tahajjud in the last 10 nights. Those sort of things, and the sleep deprivation almost, because you don't get to sleep as much. That's probably the part that's the hardest. Fasting part is not that hard for me. And I think when we were in the restaurant running the iftar service, it's such a rush that you don't even think about it. Like, I got through every day in Ramadan. I broke my fast every day with just a date, and then got through the whole through the whole service. And it was just me. I've got other Muslim staff that have joined me, like for the last year one. They did the same. They just had a date, and they just got through the whole iftar service, and they didn't eat until they rushed off the tarawih afterwards. Maybe after tarawih they ate. And I think last year's was a lot easier because I think even if you're not running a restaurant, in terms of fasting, I think everyone was only eating once the whole day anyway, because it was such a short time frame, right, in terms of when you can eat. That bit was fine. I think it was more trying to rush off to the prayers, get to on the last 10 nights, trying to do tahajjud and then get back to the restaurant, and things like that. So in that sense, it wasn't too tough, I'll be honest, to get through it. I don't think. I think in general, on an everyday basis, you just persevere. You just go day by day. And the thing is, you have to persevere because you can't plan in a business all the time. Because some days I have a plan for the next week, and then tomorrow I'll get a call and they'll say something's broken. And then you've got to react to something that's more immediate than the plan that you already had in place. And then that changes everything. I got called once on a Saturday night at, I think it was actually it was the first day off I had in about 4 months. My first day off I had in 4 months, sitting at home on a Saturday. I'm there with my wife and my son, and then I get a call at 10:45 in the night, and the guys at the restaurant calling me saying one of the water pipes have busted in the basement. And that was it. And then you just got to react to it. It's your business. No one else is going to take care of it. So whatever you had planned going forward, you just got to react to it. So it's just, you just got to persevere. You just got to go through it. But obviously persevere in a responsible way. Like you said, if you're not doing well, and and I know, especially in our communities, there's that thing of that stigma of failure, and no one wants to be a failure. But it is being sensible that if it's not good for you, then it's
You
better
can't
for you
force
not
it.
to.
Yeah,
it's better for you not, because, and also if it's not written for you, like I mean, I'm not trying to take it that way, but like they say, if Allah's willed it for you, you can't even run away from it.
Yeah.
But if it's not for you, no matter how much perseverance you put in or how much you chase it, if it's not willed for you, then it's not going to happen. But that doesn't mean that things are just going to happen at a click of a finger.
Yeah,
You still got
you
still got to put the work in, because in putting the work in, then maybe the blessings will come out at the end of it. But it's that fine line of how do you know though? I guess that's the thing, because we could have easily thrown the towel in the first year when we saw only one table coming in the whole day. We could have easily thrown the towel. It takes some luck as well, because I guess other people, if other businesses, if they had one or two tables, they probably would have taken the sensible approach and said, let's downsize or let's do this. I may be where I am today because I didn't do that, but it might not be because I did that and then it's because I knew 100% it was going to work. We just thought, let's just see. And there's a little bit of luck as well. I mean, I don't essentially believe in luck, but I mean in terms of sometimes you get someone that comes in, they love it so much, but they got such a wide reach and they become such an ambassador for you without meaning to be.
Yeah.
And then that's helped you. But it could have been like, what if that one person didn't turn up that day to make that difference?
Mm-hmm.
Then the business wouldn't be where it is today. It's just so many different elements, so much of it that you don't even have control over.
Yeah, I think that's what luck is really, in my opinion, is that the thing that you can't really plan for, that just happens spontaneously, and you're like, wow, exactly. That was cool.
And I think we had a few of those moments. And I guess some people are unfortunate that they didn't have those moments. And there are some people out there that probably have, and I probably know that they have much better ideas than us. They probably have way better chance of doing a better business than us. But they were probably just unfortunate not to have that just one moment that we didn't even have control over. And you can't plan for that moment either. Yeah. And there are people out there that probably want to do much better things than we do. And I hope to see that they do, because I'd love to see the halal industry improve even further, because we're seeing an evolution in the halal industry. We started somewhere, then someone else got introduced, someone else brought this, and someone else brought that, and so on and so forth. I don't think anyone's better than anyone else, because the people like myself in the Great Chase wouldn't exist right now if it wasn't for all those restaurants that have been around for the last 30 years, that paved the way for us. Because otherwise we'd be opening to nobody. So I'd love to see that improvement. So I hope people that want to do things in the future, that want to do more things in the hospitality business, I'm always there to support people, and I've done it a few times already for other restaurants out there, because I just want to see a better community amongst Muslim business owners and halal business owners, whether they're Muslim or not, that want to improve the halal industry. I'd love to be able to get together with them and for us to all talk to each other, find out our challenges, because I have challenges that I might not have the answers for, and if I sit in that forum or in that table, someone else may have the answer to help me. And I always think to myself, as I mentioned earlier, I wish I had someone that was able to help me just a little bit in the beginning. It would make a massive difference, and I would love to be able to do that for as many other people as I can. Definitely. As possible, and it's nice that I've had a few people reach out for that and I've been able to help, but I always tell them, whatever advice I give you will not get you success, because we haven't got that success, but at least I can tell you the mistakes I made, so you can at least avoid those mistakes that I made, and that's probably the most I can give people at this time, until I'm actually successful.
Amazing. I mean, I knew that this was going to be a really valuable episode, but I didn't expect it to be this much. I mean, I'm sitting here like thinking I didn't want to talk, I was just listening. But yeah, honestly, a lot of really great points to consider that I think we haven't maybe even covered in previous episodes, which is great. So finally, just to kind of wrap things up, for people to now, they've heard your story. We all want you to go down and try the Great Chase 100%. So for people that want to try it or want to follow your journey, or just want to stay up to date, what's the best way for them to keep in touch with you and stay up to date?
I guess through Instagram. That's probably the platform we're most active in. Anytime we come up with a new menu or anything new that we're doing or any events that are coming up, we'll always be posting on Instagram. So that's always the best way to find out what's happening with us.
Is there anything else coming up in the future, like any changes, anything that people can expect? Or would you just prefer that they stay tuned into your Instagram?
I mean, for now, no, because we only just recently introduced our summer menu. Mm-hmm. So that'll probably run until about... And we'll probably start working the next menu in about September or something like that. And at the moment, we've got this. We're hoping inshallah in the future we can grow the Great Chase a little bit more. I'd actually love to move out the venue we're in right now. I think if I was to plan for my next most immediate thing I would like to do is to get out of the current place I'm in at the moment and find something a little bit, a better location, a bit nicer, and doesn't have as many problems. That would be nice. And for any halal business owners out there or people that want to go into the halal industry, if there's anything that I can help you guys with, then just reach out. Just drop me a message on Instagram and I'll happily get back to you guys.
If you could just give one piece of advice that you'd give, because we've covered quite a few tips and pieces of advice that, you know, people that are considering to go into hospitality, they can take, which is great. What would you say for the youth in general that are, you know, looking into business or maybe even to a certain extent hospitality? But what would you say to them in terms of inspiring them for potentially following their dreams or following a different path?
I'd say don't do it alone. And the reason why I say that is you definitely want to do the risk assessment. And the reason why I say that is, you know, when you have your own idea, no matter what happens, you're always going to believe that's going to work. And you're going to believe everything of that idea is going to work. And then you'll get super excited about it as well. And when you're there, you kind of need a team or someone else even to just hold that back a little bit, so you can really see the full picture. Because I remember I was super excited with my idea, and I didn't see some of the faults in my idea. Because first of all, you can't help it; it's your own idea, so you just think it's absolutely brilliant, right? And the other thing is, you just believe it's going to work, but you need someone else to help you sometimes to just say, yeah, it will work, but here are the things that you need to do. Have you factored in this? Because when you come up with an idea, you're only thinking about the end. You're not thinking about how you got there or how you're going to get there. You're just thinking about, oh no, this idea is going to work and it will probably make me a millionaire one day. But that's not always the reality, because if it was that easy, then we'd have no one but millionaires, right? So no, I'd say try get a good amount of people around you, do your research, and always think about why it won't work rather than only why it would work. Because if you only think about why it would work, you're not going to get anything, you're not going to find, if you only look for why it would work, then to you it's going to be the golden rule, and then when you actually open the business, you're going to be hit with a lot of reality. So I always say, always, it's like how you write an essay in school. You know, in essays, in school they always tell you to write an essay. But like, even if your argument is for, make sure some part of your argument talks about against, and then how you counter that. Because if you don't know why it wouldn't work, you wouldn't know what you'd have to change or adapt to get over that. And I think there's that. If you've got a great idea, you know, go with it. Everyone wants to live their dreams. There's nothing wrong with that. And everyone can be successful in whatever their dreams is, but it's got to be sensible at the same time. And money-wise, you know, don't risk everything, because it's still a business at the end of the day. And you know, we don't gamble for a reason. And business is still a bit of a gamble, but at least it's through your own actions. So just be very sensible. Think it through. Never rush into business. Definitely don't, because I did. And my first year shouldn't have been as hard as it was, but it was really hard because I rushed into it. I thought there was a golden path paid for me, and there wasn't. And it takes a lot of work. If you know, because I know a lot of people have ideas, but they don't have the work ethic to go with it. And if you haven't got the work ethic to go with it, you can have $1 million idea. You're not going to even make $1. You need to make sure you have you've got to make the sacrifice. And I mean that in terms of even with your own family. Like, if you don't even sacrifice time with your family, your friends, if you're the guy that wants to open a business and have all your friends come over and enjoy it, there's no point of you opening a business, because then that's just done for your own ego. And it's not, unless you're a millionaire already or born into a millionaire family, there is no point of you doing something like that and wasting your money and your time, because it will affect you in many ways afterwards. Because we were close to that ourselves, and alhamdulillah it changed. But yeah, and get as much advice as you can from people that are in the industry, that people are experienced, but also always take their advice with a pinch of salt, because what works for someone doesn't necessarily always work for someone else. So always take it with a pinch of salt, and then leave the rest to Allah and see where you go with it.
I love that. Great advice. Definitely one for you guys to consider. But yeah, thank you for watching, guys. I hope my voice wasn't too bad. But it's been a great episode, and we hope to see you again soon. Don't forget to subscribe and like and comment on YouTube. If you're listening to the audio version on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, then do please subscribe and leave us a review as well. And then also don't forget to go visit the Great Chase. You won't regret it. It's a great experience. And also, the great thing about them is that they've got seasonal menus, as mentioned earlier. So you can always have a different experience if you go in the summer or the winter. So that's a great thing. So definitely go share the love, and definitely let them know that you've come from Recipe to Success as well. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you soon.